agreements, what should we be looking for?
Yeah, with an employment agreement, basically that's the agreement between the employer and the employee, and it outlines all that the employer requires of the employee and what the employee can reasonably expect from the employer in return for working for them.
It's a bit of a minefield. I'm sure that somebody needs to be independent to write it all, because where would we start?
Well, it is. It's like a lot of things, whereby getting it absolutely right, so that it's fair for both parties is a hard job, and it needs to be obviously compliant with the current employment legislation, and yeah, like I said, be fair to everyone, and by doing that, everybody knows exactly where they stand. It gives you options should there be some disagreements. It tells you how you step through them, and those sorts of things.
Yeah, timing.
Timing, you need to get it in place before they start work.
Yeah. Well, that's not all that easy sometimes.
So it is important, because you look at the 90-day period that comes into being. If you actually start work before the employment agreement's signed, that effectively creates some issues around that, legal challenges, should you wish to impose it later on. And so it can make things really difficult. So it needs to be signed before they start work.
By both people?
By both sides.
So who needs one?
Everybody that is employed. So
every
employer that is employing somebody, they need to put an agreement in place. It's a legal requirement, and obviously we're aware that there's a lot of places out there, a lot of small businesses, for example, that their employment agreement tends to be the handshake or just what's spoken about, and there's actually nothing written down. That doesn't meet legislative requirement.
So it's not just an insurance, it's actually a legal requirement.
It is a legal requirement under the Employment Act.
So that's why it's so important.
Well, it's probably is, yeah. It's like most things, like driving down your car down the road. You've got to have a driver's licence. To be employed, you've got to have an employment agreement. I guess that's a little bit of a similarity there, I guess.
So information that's required?
Information, it'll have the names of both parties. It should outline things around what can be expected if there are challenges in the workplace, who they can go to, for example, if they have a dispute. It should outline what their pay conditions are, what their leave is, and all those elements that are actually integral to being employed by someone. How often are you going to be paid? What are you going to be paid?
With how much tax is going to be withheld?
Yeah, all those sorts of things. And again, it's part of that, meeting that legal obligation. And I guess it's part of being a good employer, which is what the Act indicates as well, is that being fair, it's being open and transparent about what's happening in the workplace. If it's written down in a nice, concise document, everybody knows exactly where they stand, and hopefully there's no disputes out of it.
I was going to say, to me it's a bit like a prenuptial, because of course I love you, darling, but I want you to sign this to say, but it's a prenuptial, because nobody goes into a relationship thinking it's going to blow to bits.
Well, no, that's right, and it's and I suppose it's that old synergy about failure to plan. On my part, does not make an emergency on exactly. At all. It's failure to plan is a plan to fail.
Let's have a look at the recruitment system.
Yep.
What's involved with that?
Okay, with recruitment, obviously you're looking to gain a new employee into your business. So part of that is before you even start the process, what does the job entail? What is the position that you're trying to recruit to? And as an employee, you need to understand that. The details of the job. What are the tasks that are to be carried out? So from that, you would develop a position description that outlines what the job is. Once you've decided on that, then you look at, okay, we've got this job here, what does it measure up with by way of perhaps remuneration and pay for the individual? And then from that, you would look at the employment agreement based on that, understanding what the position actually is. Because if you don't understand the position, you actually don't know what you're hiring for.
So, okay, so that opens the door of somebody saying, well, I've got you in here as a tractor driver, but I now want you to run the irrigation. And that's not part of the employment agreement.
Right, and again, most position descriptions and agreements will have a phrase around the lines of any other duties that may be required
Within reason.
And again, that's within reason. It's not suddenly bringing them in as a labourer and putting them in as a general manager and expecting not to pay any more, for example, or vice versa. So yeah, again, it's about being really clear so that people know what the position is, and then once they've determined that, obviously then building the employment agreement around what the position is, and from there going forward advertising in accordance with what you're looking for, and then going through the selection process based on that.
I want you to come back because I want you to tell me how you can help out with that selection process, and also how you can wade in and actually take all the minefield bit out of when it does go belly up. But thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
We're back with more on the land in just a moment or two.